Part 44. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 431. Boom. At this moment, Su Yang couldn't hold back and raised his leg to give Wang Fuegui a kick. After all, Wang Fuegui was at the 8th level of Qi training, and he instinctively wanted to resist, but to no avail. He was kicked away by Su Yang, and his body hit the ground heavily. The scene was filled with dust. "Damn it, Mr. Su, why did you hit me?" Wang Fuegui got up from the ground in disgrace and looked at Su Yang with an innocent face. "You're going to cut me off, so I can't beat you anymore," Su Yang said with a dark face. "Well." Wang Fuegui paused, then suddenly realized, his face was immediately filled with a smile. He hurried over to squeeze Su Yang's shoulders, and while squeezing back, he smiled apologetically. "Hey, Mr. Su, I didn't know you wanted to participate too. Hundreds of sects will compete in martial arts. Young Master Su has incredible skills. If you want to participate, you will definitely surpass the top talent. No one can compete with you. You are the well-deserved number one." Wang Fuegui then said, "If I knew you would go, I wouldn't cut the number one Gil even if I beat him to death. I said the wrong thing, you did a good job. How about you hit me a few more times to relieve your anger? Forget it, I'll hit you myself so as not to tire you out." As he said this, Wang Fuegui slapped himself a few times unceremoniously, and the sound of slapping could be heard endlessly. "Day. Young Master Wang, it's not like that. We are brothers, so it's really not like that." Su Yang originally wanted to teach Wang Fuegui a lesson, but when he saw Wang Fuegui like this, he immediately gave up the idea. "Ha ha." When Wang Fuegui heard this, he smiled and said proudly, "Young Master Su, this move is called retreat in order to advance, and it is called the painful flesh strategy among the 36 strategies. Since I became a cultivator, I found that my brain has become smarter. What about Mr. Su, am I good at it?" Su Yang looked confused. Why did he slap himself so many times and then say that he was great? Are you sure this is becoming smarter and not becoming a fool? However, young Master Su, my plan was successful thanks to you. Wang Fuegui took Su Yang's hand, with red eyes, and said affectionately, "I know you love me, and when you see my face hurt, you are not willing to continue to punish me. Young Master Su, you are the best in the world. I'm so touched by the man who loves me the most. Plot. You call this a strategy? Etc. Pet. Fuck you." Su Yang's face darkened and he was about to shake off Wang Fuegui's hand. But at this time, Shifen's figure flickered and appeared on Su Yang instantly. She seemed to be jealous, so she grabbed Wang Fuegui's hand and shook it away. Immediately afterwards, Shifen stood in front of Su Yang and said with an unkind expression, "Young Master Wang, take your hand away and don't touch my master. Master Fei Xian's hand can be touched by Mistress Fei Xian, Sister Shuer can touch it, and Sister Xiao can touch it, but you can't." Shifen threatened seriously, "I'm warning you, the master is straight, don't try to bend him." Wang Fuegui was confused. He didn't expect Shifen to remind him so seriously. He wanted to utter a few fragrant words about the quintessence of China. But when he thought of Shifen's strength, Wang Fuegui panicked and shrank his head in fear. I'm afraid. I'm afraid." Wang Fuegui whispered, "Little nurse, don't be angry. I was wrong. I can't spit out ivory from my dog's mouth. Don't be as knowledgeable as me. You can't spit out ivory from your mouth." Shifen, who used to be a dog, immediately gritted her teeth after hearing Wang Fuegui's words. Yes, it's me, I'm not as good as shit." Wang Fuegui quickly surrendered. "Shit." Shifen stared at Wang Fuegui and said angrily, "The dog provoked you. You keep mentioning the dog. What do you mean?" "Depend on." When Wang Fuegui heard this, there was a look of envy in his eyes. Awesome, such a strong female slave. When it comes to the ability to find women, it must be you, the handsome young man from Jiangbei, Mr. Su. I won't hit you next time. Sister-in-law, Su Yang is my brother, and you are my sister-in-law. Please show mercy. Su Yang smiled softly and said, as for the origin, I won't tell you, but she has established a foundation now, so you'd better not mess with her. Little nurse, I was wrong, please let me go. Su Yang continued, the Lu family should be satisfied with this result. It just so happens that I also want to participate. When the time comes, I will inevitably reveal my identity as a cultivator. In the 100 sex martial arts competition, you can use your full strength and there is no need to hide. Before Wang Fuegui finished speaking, Shifen moved at an alarming speed. Wang Fuegui didn't even see when she made the move, and his body flew backwards. Wang Fuegui couldn't help it anymore and muttered, look at your arrogance, the fox's tail is almost raised to the sky. For the sake of young Master Su, I won't argue with you, otherwise I can do it with just one finger, ah. Wang Fuegui smiled happily and said, I originally thought I was going to Wudaing alone, but I didn't expect you to go to Wudaing alone. I didn't expect you, Mr. Su, to go too. Now I have the confidence. Su Yang nodded and said, you are the taily sword body, and you have accepted the inheritance I gave you. Without a weapon in your hand, your combat effectiveness will be much weaker. Yes. Little nurse, don't push yourself too hard. What happened to the dog is none of your business. Well, let's set out together tomorrow. It's still early. I'll refine a sword for you to improve your combat effectiveness. In this way, you can definitely take second place in the 100 sex competition. She is my slave girl and my friend. Shifen, there are 10 people practicing in my room. You should know this. You should go to my room first and see how they are practicing. We have no grudges in the past, and we have no grudges in the recent past, so what? Su Yang continued, the little nurse you are talking about will go to Wudaing with us. With her here, we will be safe. Even if the cultivator's identity is exposed, no one will dare to touch us. Congratulations, sister-in-law. Wang Fuegui was frightened by the beating, his nose was bruised and his face was swollen, so he hurriedly flattered him. Stop talking nonsense. Wang Fuegui screamed and screamed. The last words about little sister-in-law made Shifen happy, and she stopped only then. Damn it, don't slap me in the face. That violent girl Lu Shushan just covets my handsomeness, so she insists on pestering me. If you want to destroy me, my life will be over. Young Master Su, please persuade her quickly. When Shifen heard the word sister-in-law, she felt very happy. She immediately made a promise and then disappeared. Shifen responded respectfully, then turned and walked into the living room. Okay. Foundation building. At this moment, Su Yang smiled softly and said, I'll have a chat with young Master Wang alone. Wang Fuegui had no power to fight back. He was beaten so hard that he cried like a ghost and howled like a wolf. His end was very tragic. Young Master Su, please tell me honestly, what is the background of this little nurse? She is so powerful. Wang Fuegui couldn't help but ask after watching Shifen leave. First they mentioned the dog, and now they mentioned the fox. Shifen was completely offended and refused to let Wang Fuegui go. She walked over and gave him a blast. Su Yang looked at Wang Fuegui, smiled and said, Young Master Wang, since you have decided to participate in the 100 sex martial arts competition, I will not stop you. Why did the fox offend you again? Humph. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 432. Okay, then thank you, young Master Su, Wang Fuegui said gratefully. When Su Yang heard this, he frowned and said, what did you just say? Thank you Su Die. Boom. Before Wang Fuegui could finish his sentence, Su Yang took action decisively and knocked Wang Fuegui to the ground with one punch. I consider you a brother, but you tell me thank you. The point is, the last time you said thank you, I already beat you, but you don't have a long memory, and you still say it? Hey, my feelings have really faded away. Su Yang shook his head, turned around and walked into the living room, his eyes full of disappointment. At the scene, only a confused Wang Fuegui was left, his body twitching from time to time. A few minutes later, on the third floor of the villa, in the next room, Su Yang and Wang Fuegui faced each other, sitting cross-legged on the bed. Nowadays, Wang Fuegui is a cultivator at the 8th level of Qi training. He has an extraordinary physique and recovered quickly after being severely beaten. At this moment, Wang Fuegui stopped joking and asked curiously, "Young Master Su, why did you ask me to come up here to refine weapons?" Refining together. Su Yang said truthfully, "A truly powerful weapon is spiritual. I now have some weapon refining materials in hand that can be used to refine a mid-grade spiritual sword." Su Yang continued, "If I refine it myself, with your current level, even if you have the Taili sword body, it may be difficult to conquer the middle-grade spiritual sword. If you can't use the spirit sword after it is refined, wouldn't it be useless?" Su Yang smiled softly and said, "But if you refine it with me, it will be different. In this way, the refined spiritual sword is closely related to you and connected by blood. You can easily subdue it and use it with ease." "I see." Wang Fuegui suddenly realized, "Young Master Su, you are still thoughtful, so let's start quickly." "I can't wait." Su Yang nodded lightly, and then took out a pile of materials from the storage ring. These refining materials are naturally the fragments from the upper 6 floors of the Void Tower. At present, Su Yang has no need for it, so it is better to refine a spiritual sword for Wang Fuegui. Taili sword body, how come there is no weapon at hand? Original. Su Yang had thought about giving the sky sword to Wang Fuegui. But then I thought about it and decided to forget it. It took a lot of effort for him to conquer the Kangqiang sword, all relying on the pressure of the immortal emperor. As for Wang Fuegui, his level is too low to be able to surrender to the sky sword, and he may even hurt himself. Again, Su Yang keeps the Kangqiang sword, which is still useful. With the blessing of the Kangqiang sword, his combat power will increase. So after much thought, Su Yang decided to refine the fragments of the Void Tower into a mid-grade spiritual weapon. Next, Su Yang made a secret with both hands, forcibly bound Wang Fuegui's soul, and began to refine weapons. In this case, the spirit sword was refined by Su Yang and Wang Fuegui together, so Wang Fuegui would not be excluded. At the same time, the Du family in Shenzhen City. After a night of fermentation, the Du family already knew that Du Mingyuan died in Jiangbei. Now, the important place of the Du family, the place where the ancestor practiced martial arts. A white-haired old man sat cross-legged on a dark brown futon. His hair and beard were all white, and he looked like he was in his old age. However, his true energy surged throughout his body, creating a gust of wind that made his clothes whistle, and he seemed to have a somewhat masterful demeanor. Du Feiyang solemnly said, "The revenge for killing my father is irreconcilable. As a son of man, if I cannot avenge my father, how can I take over the Du family and deter the ancient martial arts world? However, ancestor, if this happens, our Du family will definitely attract the attention of the entire ancient martial arts world. Since you have this intention, then I will satisfy you. Hundreds of sects will compete in martial arts, and you come and kill Su Yang. Especially your third soul, which is the ancestor of the Du family 300 years ago. Its strength is unfathomable." Du Kun continued, "If you invite 3 souls, you should be able to kill Su Yang easily. He resigned as the head of the family many years ago and promoted his second brother's grandson Du Mingyuan to the throne of the family head. He even treated Du Mingyuan as if he were his own son and often gave Du Mingyuan guidance. This man's name is Du Feiyang, the son of Du Mingyuan and the most outstanding genius of the Du family. Palace of Medicine King. Du Kun stroked his beard, smiled appreciatively, and then said, "Your understanding of the Du family's secret knowledge is no weaker than mine. In addition, you have 3 souls in your body. If you ask the ancestors to come up behind you, your strength is comparable to that of Shenzong. Even if I risk my life, I will make Su Yang's soul fly to pieces." It is no exaggeration to say that Du Kun is the trump card of the Du family. As long as he is around, the Du family will not be in chaos. Fei Yang, the young master of the Medicine King Palace, can kill your father. He must not be underestimated. "Are you sure you want to do it yourself?" Du Kun asked. "I heard that Su Yang will participate in the 100 sex martial arts competition. When the time comes, I will kill him." "Fei Yang, you don't know something." "What do you mean?" Du Feiyang asked, confused. Who would have thought that the Du family in the small deep city, just a first-class power, would actually hide a master of Shenzong? Du Kun had no heirs throughout his life. He devoted himself to practicing the Du family's martial arts and had no interest in managing the Du family. So. P.S. The frostbite on my hands has recovered a little. Don't worry, as long as I still have breath, I will not stop updating. Haha, okay, you are indeed the good son of my Du family. Thank you, ancestor. Du Feiyang clasped his fists and then asked, "Ancestor, it is not difficult to kill Su Yang. Even winning the first place in the 100 sex martial arts competition is easy for me." Du Feiyang said worriedly, "The Du family has been dormant in the deep city and has been hiding it for hundreds of years. Are they going to be exposed today?" Du Kun said angrily. The Genkai all over his body rioted, and the utensils in the room buzzed. Just now, Du Kun learned about Du Mingyuan's death and became furious, with overwhelming anger in his eyes. "Ancestor, calm down." A smile appeared at the corner of Du Kun's mouth, and he continued, "Our Du family has been planning for so many years just for this 100 sex martial arts competition. According to the news from Jiangbei, Su Yang needs to use all possible means to kill the Shen sect master, which is quite difficult. In his early 30s, he was already in the middle stage of the Tianzong, and his understanding of the Du family's martial arts had reached a state of perfection that even his ancestor Du Kun was full of praise for. He is the last head of the Du family, Du Mingyuan's great-grandfather, Du Kun. Not far away, a young talent from the Du family gritted his teeth and said, "I will definitely avenge my father. You actually attacked my Du family and killed the head of my Du family, Su Yang, right? Humph, I will crush your soul with my own hands and make you fly away and never be reincarnated." Du Kun continued, "If you risk serious injury, please get up and take one step, and you will be in the middle stage of Shenzong." Over the years, Du Kun has lived in seclusion, and no one knows that he has entered the realm of Shenzong. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 433. This is related to a rumor. As early as hundreds of years ago, the previous head of the Tianji sect deduced a secret. Du Kun fell into memories and said seriously, "After this year's 100 sex martial arts competition, the pattern of the ancient martial arts world will undergo a huge change. Not only the ancient martial arts world, but even the entire earth will experience a revolution. As for whether this innovation is good or bad, no one knows, not even the master of the Tianji sect back then." Du Kun continued, "Moreover, the sect leader was at his peak, but because of his calculation of this secret, he was finally sanctioned by heaven and died of vomiting blood. It can be seen that the future he calculated is very likely to be true, so our Du family has chosen to hibernate and prepare for this year's innovation. Du Kun continued, originally, our Du family was one of the four major families in the ancient martial arts world, occupying Weishan and controlling the world's water transportation. But because of that secret, our exclusive ancestor deliberately lost the famous mountain challenge, moved out of Weishan, lived in seclusion in the deep city, and made full preparations to welcome the revolution in the ancient martial arts world. Du Kun looked at Du Fei Yang and said seriously, this year's 100-sex martial arts competition is very important. Because the three major forces have announced in advance that whose young talent wins first place will represent the destiny of heaven. All major sects in the ancient martial arts world must comply with heaven's law. Hearing this, Du Fei Yang became even more confused and asked, follow the way of heaven, ancestor, what do the three major forces mean? He. Du Kun smiled softly and said, they want to push the number one among the hundreds of sects into the torrent of history and let him lead the ancient martial arts world to cope with the next innovation. To put it simply, the three major forces plan to appoint an ancient martial arts leader, and this candidate will be the champion of this year's 100-sex martial arts competition, Du Kun added. What? Du Fei Yang frowned and said, in the ancient martial arts world, the major forces are unwilling to give in to each other. Now a huge change is about to happen. They will launch an ancient martial arts leader to lead the ancient martial arts world to deal with it together. This is understandable. But, wouldn't it be better for the leader of the ancient martial arts alliance to choose from the strongest old guys in the ancient martial arts world? They are strong and can convince the public. Du Fei Yang continued, although the number one in the 100-sex martial arts competition is considered a strong one among the younger generation, compared with the older masters, he is far inferior. How can a junior boy lead the ancient martial arts world? Ha ha. Du Kun stroked his beard and smiled, Fei Yang, you are quite thoughtful, but you ignored 2 points. First of all, those old guys, such as Shihan in the land of Zen, old Poison in the depths of the clouds, old Manlishan between the mountains and the sea, and the heritage of other powerful sections. Although they are unfathomable, they are already old, their energy and blood have dried up, and their lifespan is about to expire. It is unrealistic to expect them to lead the ancient martial arts world. Du Kun continued, secondly, it is the destination of heaven. The first place in this year's 100-sex martial arts competition must be the strongest genius in the past 40 years. No matter who this person is, he has inherited the destiny of heaven and earth. Otherwise, why would he win the championship this year? Du Kun continued, since the first place has the destiny of heaven and the ancient martial arts world wants to conform to the way of heaven in order to innovate and develop in a good direction, then this first place is naturally the best to be the leader of the ancient martial arts alliance. Selection. Fei Yang, the matter of luck and destiny is mysterious, and involves so many things that it can't be explained in just a few words, so don't think too much about it. Du Kun said seriously, you just need to use all your strength to take the lead. At that time, you will be the leader of the ancient martial arts alliance, and our Du family will become a behemoth like the Su family for more than 100 years, and we will be the leader in the ancient martial arts world. Yes. Du Fei Yang clasped his fists with both hands and said respectfully, Ancestor, please rest assured, I will win the championship, and I will kill anyone who stops me. Good. Du Kun smiled with satisfaction and said, you have such strength, it is inevitable to win the championship. Ha ha ha, our Du family has been dormant for hundreds of years. These years have been too frustrating, and we can finally feel proud. Ancestor. Du Fei Yang's eyes were sharp and he said seriously, I will win the first place and announce to the world that the former Du family is back. Not only that, I want to kill Su Yang of Yaoang Palace with my own hands, and use his head to comfort my father's spirit in heaven. The other side. Sandong Bridge. Although this force is not as powerful as the Du family, it is not a true first-class force. Because the three cave masters of Sandong Bridge are all at the Shenzong level, they have every chance of becoming masters of famous mountains. They have been together for more than 10 years and established Sandong Bridge just for this year's famous mountain challenge, hoping to defeat a famous mountain and become a sect within the system. But who would have known that the famous mountain challenge was about to take place, and one of the cave masters, Gu Hongyu, was actually killed. There is such a strong person in the Medicine King Palace. He is not weak at the level of the Shen section. According to the information I received, Su Yang, the new master of the Yaoang Palace, can kill the Shenzong. Also, Zhang Hongyao, the former Kyoto sage, is not dead. He is now in the Shenzong realm. In other words, there are two Shenzongs in the Yaoang Palace. In this case, let's forget it. Revenge is a small thing, but the famous mountain challenge is the big one. The first priority is to win the famous mountain. Besides, we only have a cooperative relationship with Gu Hongyu, and we don't have a deep friendship. Yes, her death is just in time. When she takes over the famous mountain, there will be one less person to share the resources with. The two remaining cave masters of Sandong Bridge discussed it and finally decided not to take revenge. But they had memorized Su Yang's name, and if they had the chance, they would kill him if they could. In a blink of an eye, it was already night, and the bright moon was in the sky. Su Yang and Wang Fugui spent the whole afternoon refining the spirit sword in their room, and now they are finally succeeding. Young Master Wang, everything is ready. In order to increase your fusion with the spirit sword, the last step is left to you at this time, Su Yang said. Wang Fugui asked hurriedly, Young Master Su, just tell me what I want to do. Well, you need to imagine what a sword looks like in your mind. Now that all the materials are ready, it will look like whatever you want it to look like. Su Yang reminded, you are Taili sword body, so you can only use the sword. Quickly meditate on the shape of the sword. Good. Wang Fugui agreed without hesitation and then closed his eyes. As for Su Yang, he withdrew his mind. The last step was very simple, just leave it to Wang Fugui. Buzz. At this moment, the weapon refining materials were suspended in mid-air, emitting bright golden light. Under the control of Wang Fugui's thoughts, the refining materials gradually condensed and began to take shape. Su Yang stared at the sky intently. At first, he felt that the shape of the golden light was a bit strange, but he didn't pay much attention to it. But when the golden light dissipated, Su Yang was dumbfounded. After he realized what he was doing, he couldn't help but curse. Nima. I spent the whole afternoon and consumed so many precious refining materials, and finally I refined a, Suana. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 434. Su Yang took a closer look. Damn it, the thing suspended in the air was a Suana. Wang Fugui. You stupid idiot. Su Yang couldn't help but curse. If Wang Fugui hadn't consumed too much energy and was relatively weak at the moment, he would have given Wang Fugui a kick. Young Master Su, why are you so angry? Wang Fugui opened his eyes, walked out of the bed, and said with an innocent face, you said you wanted to refine a weapon that is easy to use. Go away, what does this have to do with me? Su Yang gritted his teeth. Yes, I have. Wang Fugui smiled bitterly and said, as soon as I heard it, the Suana immediately came to mind, so it became like this. After explaining, Wang Fugui raised his arm and waved, and the Suana suspended in the air flew directly into his hand as if it had been summoned. Holding the Suana with both hands, Wang Fugui looked at it carefully, his expression became excited, his whole mental outlook was different, and he looked particularly confident. Fuck, this feel, this workmanship, this quality, this carving, ha ha ha, it's absolutely amazing. Wang Fuegui said excitedly, I have been practicing Suana for more than 10 years, and I have never seen such an exquisite Suana. It is exactly the Suana in my dreams. Ha ha ha, with this Suana, if I play for a big funeral, I will definitely make everyone cry. Wang Fuegui's hands were shaking with excitement. Roll roll roll. Su Yang said with a dark face, I use so many precious materials for refining weapons, why the hell did you make such a thing for me? What's the use of blowing the Suana loudly? It can't be used as a sword. Young Master Wang, you are taily sword body, can't you look like a master of swordsmanship? Su Yang gritted his teeth and said, have you ever seen a swordsman who takes out his Suana and plays a funeral ceremony when fighting with others? Hey hey! Young Master Su, this was purely an accident, and I didn't want it to end up like this. Wang Fuegui looked at the Suana in his hand, and then said, however, the Suana is actually quite good. After all, I don't know how to use the spirit sword, so I need to get used to it slowly. But Suana is different. Not only can I use it, but I can also do tricks. Even the old master who taught me how to play Suana praised me as a rare Suana player in a century who will become a great player in the future. He even wanted me to join his Suana troupe and become his successor. The more Wang Fuegui talked, the more excited he became, and he couldn't help but suggest, young Master Su, it's useless to talk so much, how about I give you a blow now? Depend on. Su Yang said with a dark face, don't brag. When the Suana sounds, the atmosphere is in place. If you don't want to leave, you have to leave. I don't want to be sent away by you. Young Master Wang, tell me what you did. Suana, this thing is worse than chicken ribs, what's the use of it? Young Master Su. If you say that again, I'm going to get angry. Unexpectedly, Wang Fuegui said seriously, what do you know? There are all kinds of musical instruments, but the Suana is the king. The Suana is a traditional musical instrument of our country. The music is beautiful and the shape is in line with the aesthetics of our Chinese people. However, Mr. Wang, you have to understand that you are taily sword body. Only by picking up the sword can you become the strongest in the world and be able to protect the people around you. Su Yang said angrily, now that the Suana has been refined, it has become a fact. It cannot change its form today. You can brag about it as much as you like. Su Yang looked at Wang Fuegui and continued, you have one more chance now. It sounds good. Wang Fuegui said with a smile, as the saying goes, as long as you have a sword in your heart, everything in the world can be a sword and can do the most damage. Wang Fuegui said excitedly, all the awesome weapons have names, and I have to give you a name too. Because of people like you, the traditional culture of our country has been gradually lost, so that today, very few young people are willing to learn Suana, causing Suana to be almost lost. I entered the art of swordsmanship with the Suana, and all the world will surrender to me for the rest of my life. I have a Suana that can move mountains, fill seas, and rule for eternity, Wang Fuegui said pretentiously. Wang Fuegui was so emotional that he held the Suana in both hands, put the head of the Suana into his mouth, and started playing on the spot. A sword is a sword and it is irreplaceable. A true master of swordsmanship will pursue the ultimate sword throughout his life. As soon as this news came out, the scene suddenly became festive, and even Su Yang was embarrassed to continue blaming Wang Fuegui. Said, young Master Su, how is it? Does it sound good? After playing, Wang Fuegui couldn't help but ask. You know nothing. When Wang Fuegui heard this, he immediately became interested and succeeded on the first try. The Suana turned into a stream of light and entered his mind. Let me try. However, the vast country of China cannot live without Suana, and the hundreds of millions of Chinese people cannot live without Suana. There was a layer of sweat on Wang Fuegui's forehead, but his breathing was steady and not chaotic. His lung capacity was acceptable, and he must have received special training.
Well, don't worry, young Master Su. I know it well and I will definitely not let you down, Wang Fuegui promised. Wang Fuegui held his head high and said seriously, as the heir to the Jiangbei Suana art troupe, I, Wang Fuegui, have the responsibility and obligation to pick up the Suana and promote the traditional Chinese musical instrument so that the sound of the Suana can be heard all over the world. Su Yang solemnly reminded, remember, you can only change it once. If you still think wildly, these weapon refining materials will be discarded, even if they are broken, you will not be able to refining the spiritual weapon, so be careful, I'm kidding you, do you understand? Wang Fuegui said seriously, young Master Su, it seems that you have serious misunderstandings and prejudices about Suana. Also, who said the Suana is useless for weddings and funerals without it? Following Wang Fuegui's thought, the next moment, the Suana appeared in his hand again. I saw Wang Fuegui's face full of joy, and while he was playing, his body was swaying to the music. After tonight, you can change your state again. At that time, as long as you meditate on the spiritual sword in your heart, this Suana can become a peerless sword. At the same time, Wang Fuegui's demeanor changed and he became more confident, as if he was the most handsome boy in the room. Young Master Su, you are well informed, knowledgeable, handsome, and suave. What do you think would be a better name for my Suana? Wang Fuegui asked with a smile. Haha, this ability is cool. It is so convenient to carry the Suana. From now on, I can play it whenever I want. The song is over. I understand, you also have good intentions. Su Yang nodded lightly, and then said, I have taught you some knowledge of cultivation before. Now you can put the Suana into your body, and when you want to use it, you can take it out with a thought. Su Yang continued, if you use Suana now, you will not be able to fight back when you meet a real master. You can measure it yourself. In an instant, the sound of the Suana rang out in the room. Fortunately, the sound was not a funeral, but 100 birds paying homage to the phoenix. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 435. Originally, I thought what you refined was a spiritual sword, so I really thought of a name and called it King Quan Sword. Su Yang glanced at the Suana in Wang Fuegui's hand and said with disgust, but now, you can think about it yourself, I am too lazy to care about you. King Quan Sword, King Quan, haha, what a good name, it perfectly matches my king's power and wealth. Wang Fuegui touched the Suana gently, as if touching a rare treasure, and then said, from now on, you will be called Wang Quan Suana. Return to the future, Su Yang frowned and said, aren't you going to use your last chance tomorrow to turn it into a spiritual sword? Hey, Mr. Su, it's not easy to get such a top quality Suana. I want to enjoy it first. Wang Fuegui smiled slightly embarrassedly and said, anyway, if I have a chance, when I have enough fun, it won't be too late to turn the King Quan Suana into a King Quan sword. You bastard, you want to make me angry to death. Su Yang said angrily, Gangan, hurry back to the Wang family, say goodbye to your dad, and get ready. I will go to the Wang family to find you early tomorrow morning and take you to Wudang. Yeah. Wang Fuegui agreed and walked out of the room. Su Yang stood up to see him off. But as soon as she arrived at the door of the room, Shifen walked out of the next room. Wang Fuegui was about to say hello, but then he saw Lu Wanyan. Fuck. This woman is so sexy, with such temperament and good looks. Young Master Su, your ability to find women is really admirable. Wang Fuegui couldn't help but sigh, he didn't expect that besides Shifen, Su Yang would hide such a beautiful woman. However, what surprised him was yet to come. Because after Lu Wanyan's death, 9 more beauties came out one after another. These people, including Lu Wanyan, all practiced Guanganju, so their aura was fresh and refined, making them even more eye-catching than before. Especially Lu Wanyan, who is a Nine absolute body. With the blessing of Guanganju, she is as cold as the Guangan fairy and does not eat the fireworks of the world. When these people appear together, the shock is not just 1 plus 1 plus 1. Owner Shifen, Lu Wanyan, and many maids greeted Su Yang in unison after seeing him. Su Yang nodded calmly. But Wang Fugui next to him was no longer calm. Depend on. Young Master Su, you are going against the will of heaven. There are 11 female slaves, and all of them have the appearance of a woman who is as beautiful as a moon and a beautiful woman. It feels so good to think about it. Wang Fugui looked at Su Yang and couldn't help complaining, no wonder you urged me to leave. It turns out there is a program tonight. Damn it, Mr. Su, you are such a big pig's hooves who is so unscrupulous, I have seen through you. 11 female slaves, he, Mr. Su, my good brother, my biological brother. Wang Fugui looked at Su Yang, and then said with a sigh of relief, they only know how to ask for, and they only care about whether you can satisfy them, but I am different, I will only feel sorry for my brother, Brother Su, you must promise body, if you die after all, people will feel sorry for you. Get out, Su Yang said with a dark face when he heard this. Ha ha. No more joking, Mr. Su, I wish you have a good time and let 100 flowers bloom and bloom. Wang Fugui smiled and then quickly left the riverside villa. Damn, you've learned how to use idioms. After watching Wang Fugui go away, Su Yang looked at Shifen, Lu Wanyan, and others, and explained awkwardly, don't listen to what young Master Wang is saying, I won't do that. Well, we trust the master. Lu Wanyan nodded first, then her face flushed, and she whispered, it's just, Master, can you take some protective measures tonight? What protective measures? Su Yang asked doubtfully, is someone coming to the riverside villa to cause trouble? No. Lu Wanyan's beautiful face was like a ripe red apple, and she said shyly, we have just practiced Guanganju now, and it is not stable yet. We don't want to get pregnant, so. Lu Wanyan and 10 others responded in unison, then returned to the room one after another. But they never expected that the master really had no intention of forcing him to have sex with them. Ahem. Su Yang looked around at the 10 people, and then asked, I see that you already have a trace of spiritual energy in your body. How does it feel to practice Guanganju? Master, don't try to hide it from me. I saw everything in the storage ring. Su Yang understood instantly. After the embarrassment, he said seriously, what are you thinking about all day long? I said I won't touch you, so I won't. Stop thinking nonsense, so as not to affect your practice. Nowadays. Owner. Yu and Xing's mother, Qian Shangxiu, and the instructor who slept with you, Zao. Lu Wanyan said respectfully, Master, please rest assured, we will work hard to practice and live up to Master's high expectations. However, despite being thankful, Lu Wanyan and the others still felt a little bit disappointed. As you command. Su Yang nodded and said the reason, the earth is very close to the moon, so the difficulty of absorbing the power of moonlight is much less than that of Xiantian immortal domain. Lu Wanyan and the other 10 people immediately responded when they heard the words, and their favorable impression of Su Yang in their hearts increased infinitely. They took advantage of Su Yang and became Su Yang's slaves. As long as Su Yang wanted to, he could play with them at will. Shifen hurriedly said, my current name is too unpleasant. Look at the young lady who was leading the team just now. She has a nice name. Her name is Lu Wanyan. Etc. After Lu Wanyan's 10 people left, Shifen looked at Su Yang and made a condition, if you want me to go to Wudane with you tomorrow, you must agree to my request, otherwise, ahem carrot. Su Yang smiled softly and said, whatever your request is, I will try my best to satisfy you. Lu Wanyan heard this and responded, Master, in the memory you passed on to us, there is the process of people from Xiantian immortal domain practicing Guanganju. Very smooth. Su Yang continued, I will leave Jiangbei tomorrow. I won't take you with me on this trip. I will leave the riverside villa to you. Practice hard. I hope you can grow up and become my helper one day. Shifen continued, that night, you were in the grass. I want to change my name. The name of the mistress is also nice, Li Fixuan. So, we need to take protective measures. Well, it's night now, don't waste time, go to the formation in my room and absorb the power of the moonlight, Su Yang said. While Shifen was talking, Su Yang suddenly asked with embarrassment, what do you mean by sleeping with me? What nonsense are you talking about? Master, that's great. Being able to follow such a master is a blessing that has been cultivated in several lifetimes. All right. I made a comparison and found that it is easier to practice Guanganju on earth than in the Xiantian immortal realm. Yes. Yes. In that case, you should practice slowly. It won't take long before you can build the foundation. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 436. Stop it, stop talking. Su Yang stopped him hastily. Yes. Shifen grabbed Su Yang's arm, shook it gently, and said coquettishly, Master, they all say that people are just like their names. Shifen is too rustic, and the rubbish is all gone. Just change my name. I want it too, I want a nice name. While speaking, Shifen used her charm skills and exuded a seductive aura. Fine. Su Yang possesses the soul of the immortal emperor, so he can naturally ignore Shifen's charm skills, but, she is really too alluring. Su Yang couldn't bear it any longer, so he nodded and agreed, smiling softly and saying, I'll call your mistress right now, and we'll discuss it and give you a nice name. Don't want. Shifen resisted and said, Master, I'm not confident in your and mistress's ability to name the cat. Shifen, I'd better let me think of it myself. Su Yang touched the bridge of his nose and said, is the name we chose so unpleasant? Yes, Shifen nodded seriously. Don't you want to be polite? Su Yang smiled bitterly at first, and then said, that's okay, you can get it yourself. Yeah. Shifen thought about it carefully, and after a moment her eyes lit up, and she said, in the future, what do you think of the name Ari? I am now a nine-tailed fox, and my body is a fox. Ari is the most suitable name. Yeah, okay. Su Yang nodded and said, from now on, you will call me Ali. Ari, thank you master. Shifen showed a happy smile, then threw herself into Su Yang's arms and rubbed her little head. Ahem. Su Yang suddenly burst into blood and said quickly, Ali, you don't want to tempt me like this. I'm afraid I can't help it. After all, throughout the ages, few men can stand the beauty of the fox fairy. Geez, if you can't help it, don't hold it back. Master, Ari is always ready and will work hard to do what master likes, Ari said with a clear breath. Gilug. Su Yang swallowed uncontrollably, but still chose to push Ali away. Master, is your heart made of iron? How can you bear to refuse Ari? Ari was slightly disappointed. As he walked towards Su Yang, he said charmingly, come on, master, let Ari see your heart. Su Yang was panicked. After he realized what he was doing, he took 2 steps back and said, Ari, don't make trouble. You'd better calm down and store the ring first. With that said, Su Yang made a thought and directly put Ali into the storage ring. Immediately afterwards, Su Yang did not forget to comfort him, Ali, don't be sad. I'm just not ready. I don't mean to dislike you. Why are you sad?
Just keep smiling. Master, Ari will definitely capture you. Ari's voice sounded in Su Yang's mind. Cough. Su Yang was so distracted by the teasing that he quickly changed the subject and said, Ari, there are a lot of clothes in the storage ring. Take a look for yourself and wear one you like next time you go out. Okay, Ari responded charmingly. It's so tempting, it's almost killing me. If you think about it carefully, sometimes you really don't blame King Zhou of Shang. If you do, you blame the vixen for being too charming. Su Yang hurriedly recovered his mind and returned to the room behind him. Tomorrow morning, we will go to Wuodang. There will be a fight there, so we need to take a good rest now. However, before leaving Jiangbei, I still have to go to the Su family manor to say goodbye to my family and take Suzing with me. This little brat has been in Jiangbei for a while, and Shuer probably misses him very much. Since Shuer will go to Wuodang, Su Yang will naturally take Suzing with him. Nothing happened all night. Before I knew it, it was already dawn. Su Yang ended his cultivation state and went to the next room to meet Lu Wanyan's 10 people. After briefly explaining some precautions, he left the riverside villa. Not long after, Su Yang appeared at the Su family manor. At this moment, Su Jingguo took off her shirt, wore tight-fitting yoga clothes, and was doing yoga in the living room. As for Suzing, he followed beside her, bringing Su Jingguo water to wipe her sweat, and was very attentive. Auntie, I have long heard that you are the famous god of war. You must have many heroic female soldiers under your command. Please introduce some to me. I like Hua Mulan's temperament the most. She is a warrior and a strong warrior. She is a woman who is not inferior to men. She feels particularly safe. Auntie, just promise me, I don't want much, just 3. Suzing chattered endlessly, looking at Su Jingguo with eyes full of flattery. Thank you, Uncle Su. But at this moment, she gritted her teeth and stared hard at Suzing. Su Yang smiled softly and said, I have to go out later. This time I want to leave Jiangbei, so I came here to say goodbye to you. Fuck, Dad, you are so cruel, you don't even care about your son's life or death. Su Yang, you're here. It was Mo Yuyan. Humph, Suzing, you forgot, you can't outrun me, I can catch up with you every time. I don't go. At this time, Su Jingguo stopped practicing yoga, looked at Su Yang with a smile, and asked, what have you been doing these 2 days? Oh my god. Mo Yuyan curled her lips and then chased after him. She was wearing cute pajamas and her long hair was loose. She must have just woken up and rubbed her eyes. She looked very cute. The place of Zen, Su Jingguo heard this and said solemnly, what are you doing in Mount Tai? Suzing. Su Jingguo seemed to have gotten used to it and was too lazy to talk to Suzing, just doing her own yoga movements. Facing the elder sister's inquiry, Su Yang did not hide anything and said seriously, I want to bring my mother back. Suzing was so frightened that he ran away and bumped into Su Yang. He hurriedly called for help, Dad, help me, someone is trying to hit me. This brat. Su Yang smiled. Suzing complained and saw Mo Yuyan getting closer and closer to him, so he ran out of the living room. Suzing was startled and said quickly, yesterday, my grandfather made someone make a super long slide, right next to the garden. Where are you going? Su Jingguo asked while wiping her sweat. I didn't say anything, little Momo, wake up, let's go play on the slide together. Su Yang looked at Mo Yuyan, smiled softly and said, Yuyan, come on, uncle supports you. Mo Yuyan looked like a cute little loli, but in fact she had a bad temper. She clenched her pink fist and was about to hit Suzing. Feeling Su Yang's kindness, the little loli Mo Yuyan showed a cute smile, then gritted her teeth and ran towards Suzing. Mo Yuyan saw Su Yang, and because she was not familiar with him, she felt a little nervous and stopped. What did you say?
Sister, haha, I went to take care of a little matter. Go to Wudang, participate in the martial arts competition of hundreds of sects, and also visit the place of Zen, Su Yang said truthfully. At this moment, a pretty little girl walked down the stairs. I can't control that. Even though Suzing was young, he was a real master. How could he not be able to outrun Mo Yuyan? He was obviously giving in to her opponent. When we played house last night, I was still your wife. Now you want to marry someone else, and you want to marry 3 more. Suzing, you are here to beat me. Mo Yuyan said angrily, don't think I didn't hear it, you just asked the heroine to introduce you to your little wife. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 437. Take Mom Back. Hearing Su Yang's words, Su Jingguo was stunned, with a trace of nostalgia in her eyes. But then, Su Jingguo smiled bitterly and said, brother, Taishan will definitely not let Mom out. If you go, I'm afraid your trip will be in vain. Put. Su Yang narrowed his eyes slightly and sneered, I went to save my mother, not to beg them to let her go. Of course, if they are sensible, they can avoid fighting each other. Su Yang's voice became darker, if they persist in their obsession, then don't blame me for being rude. I will upset Mount Tai and turn the world upside down, so that no one in the Fengchan land will dare to stop me. Brother, don't mess around. When Su Jingguo heard this, she hurriedly said, Taishan has existed for thousands of years, and there are so many masters. There are more than one Shenzong, and the Tianzong is even more numerous. If you use force on Mount Tai, the outcome can be imagined. Don't be reckless, Su Jingguo reminded her kindly. Sister, don't worry, I have my own sense of discretion. Su Yang looked at Su Jingguo, smiled softly and said, I already know the background of the Su family. Since I dare to participate in the 100 sex martial arts competition and be exposed to the public, how come I don't have a trump card? Let me tell you the truth, now, in the entire ancient martial arts world, no one can do anything to me. Su Yang sneered and said, it's just a Zen place, I don't care about it. Not only that, after rescuing my mother, I will go to Kunlun to wipe out the Ximen family, take back the Kunlun mountains, and restore the glory of my great-great-grandfather's time. At the end of the sentence, Su Yang exuded a powerful power, looking down on all living beings in the world. Brother, you. Su Jingguo looked at Su Yang and was immediately shocked by the power emanating from Su Yang, her eyes filled with shock. But then, Su Jingguo showed a smile, brother, you have been patient for many years. I believe you will not do anything that you are not sure of. Since you have decided, go ahead and I won't stop you. Su Jingguo reminded, but don't force yourself. If the situation changes, it's important to save your life. Although Shi Han from the place of Zen does not recognize our Su family, he is our grandfather after all. Su Jingguo then said, whether it's 100 sects competing in martial arts or going to the place of Zen, if you have to do it as a last resort, just call me grandpa. No matter how cruel Shi Han is, he will definitely not watch his grandson die in front of him. Call me grandpa. He. Shi Han imprisoned his mother and still wants to gain my respect? Wishful thinking. Su Yang sneered in his heart, but in order to reassure the elder sister, he nodded lightly and said, yes, elder sister, I understand. That's good. Su Jingguo nodded and said, brother, dad, and grandpa are practicing in the underground secret room. Do you want to say goodbye to them? I wanted to go, but now that I think about it, I might as well forget it, so as not to worry them. Su Yang smiled softly and said, when I come back, I will meet them again. Sister, you have to keep the secret for me. Okay, since they know about it anyway, they can't help you much. Su Jingguo nodded lightly, and then asked curiously, brother, it's inconvenient for me to tell you what your trump card is, To give you such a big deal, your confidence even allows you to dare to challenge the ancient martial arts world. Haha. Su Yang did not hide anything and said truthfully, "Sister, do you know about the thunder layer that suddenly appeared in Jiangbei the night before yesterday?" "Well, I watched the live broadcast. It was so scary. There seemed to be a fox in the thunder layer trying to survive the tribulation." Su Jingguo continued, "However, the official statement has been made, saying that it is a mirage, caused by the refraction of light, and it is all an illusion. In fact, there is no thunder layer in the sky, and there is no so-called fox fairy." "No." Su Yang shook his head and said, "Sister, that's true. The fox that transcended the tribulation was raised by me. Now she has successfully established the foundation, and her combat power can crush the Shen Zone. With her here, I dare to face the ancient martial arts world. All denominations." "This," Su Jingguo said doubtfully, "brother, are you kidding? How could there be a fox fairy in the world? It's incredible." "Haha, sister, in order to reassure you, I will let you see it." Su Yang smiled, and then ordered, "Ali, come out and let my sister take a look at you." "Yes." As soon as he finished speaking, Ali's voice sounded in Su Yang's mind. Then, with a flash of light, Ari's figure appeared out of thin air in the living room. At this moment, Ari took off her nurse uniform and put on a tight-fitting silver leather jacket with hearts on it. The tight-fitting leather jacket showed off her exquisite figure, and the scenery was unique. In addition, Ari's hair has also turned light yellow, which matches well with the silver-white leather jacket. The overall feeling is full of temptation. At this time, Ali holds a pink fist, looking cute, but also charming. The most attractive thing is that she deliberately exposes a white tail and swings it from side to side. This scene could kill all the men in the world. I am afraid that even the old antiques in Mount Bodhi would not be able to calm down after seeing her. Ari has met the heroine's sister. Ari greeted in a gentle tone. "Ari." When Su Jingguo saw Ali appear out of thin air, she immediately believed Su Yang's words. Immediately afterwards, she saw Ali's intentional tail again, and she was instantly convinced. "Turn around." Su Jingguo pulled Su Yang aside and whispered, "Su Yang, you have to be careful about her. Since ancient times, beauties have brought disaster, especially vixens. Throughout the ages, many heroes have been destroyed at the hands of vixens. For example, the last human emperor in the world, King Zhou of Shang, did not escape the charm of Sudaji in the end and ruined the great rivers and mountains." Su Jingguo said seriously, "Don't get too close to her, and don't let the vixen fool you." "Sister." Su Yang touched the bridge of his nose and said with a wry smile, "You are thinking too much. Besides, you have forgotten my identity. I am the #1 playboy in Jiangbei. I have never seen any kind of woman. Don't worry." "Well, I'm just giving you a heads up," Su Jingguo said in a low voice. "Haha." Su Yang smiled softly, then changed the subject and said, "Sister, Dad, and Grandpa have started to cultivate. Now that there is still time, I will take you to the path of cultivation. Not in a hurry." Su Jingguo thought about it for a moment, and then said, "The Emperor has summoned me. After you leave, I will go to Kyoto. When I come back from Kyoto, it will not be too late to start cultivating." "The Emperor wants to see you." Su Yang frowned and said, "Did you tell me the reason?" "Actually, the Emperor wanted to see you in the first place." Su Jingguo continued, "Prince Ping is the master of the 3 armies and is in charge of a 1,000,000-strong army. Now that he has been killed by you, the army cannot be without a leader for a day, so the Emperor wants you to return to Beijing and meet with the war gods to stabilize the morale of the army." Su Jingguo continued, "However, although you have been canonized as Commander Su, you know nothing about military affairs, so I proposed that I go to Kyoto for you to stabilize the morale of the army first, and the Emperor naturally agreed."
Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 438. Sister. Su Yang understood, but said, our Su family doesn't need to take care of these things now, why do you need to wade into this muddy water? Little brother, I don't allow you to say such things. Only when the foundation of the royal family is solid can the world be at peace and hundreds of millions of people can live and work in peace and contentment. Su Jingguo said seriously, 3 generations of our Su family have joined the army because of their patriotism. Now that the emperor needs us, we cannot ignore him. All right. Su Yang did not refute, but said, I killed Prince Ping in Kyoto, and I am famous on the battlefield in southern Xinjiang. In the past 2 days, I even killed the Iron Fist sect, Zhang Changsheng and Gu Hongyu of Sandong Bridge. This news must have reached Kyoto. Sister, you should be absolutely safe when you go to Kyoto. No one dares to be disrespectful to you. Su Yang smiled softly. Hearing these words, Su Jingguo looked at Su Yang and showed a touch of relief. Little brother, you have grown up, and now I will benefit from you. Haha, sister, you have been protecting me since I was a child. I have been taking advantage of you for more than 10 or 20 years. Now the situation has changed. Su Yang smiled and then said, by the way, sister, the Medicine King Palace in Kyoto is its own power. If there is something that cannot be solved, you can contact the Medicine King Palace directly. Good. Su Jingguo nodded and looked at Su Yang with a smile on her face. The more she looked, the more satisfied she became. Sister, if that's the case, I'll leave first. Su Yang said goodbye. Okay, be careful on the road. Su Jingguo reminded again, be careful of the vixen and try to control yourself. Don't do too much of that kind of thing. You are still young. Doing too much is not good for your health. Ahem. Sister, I have a sense of discretion in this matter. Su Yang didn't explain too much, and then left the living room with Ali. This kid has really grown up. Seeing Su Yang and Ali disappear, Su Jingguo couldn't help but sigh. A few minutes later. Next to the garden. There is a 7 or 8 meter high slide here, where Su Xing and Mo Yuyan are playing. Mo Yuyan is just a little girl, so she is naturally afraid of such a high slide. But Su Xing comforted her, little Momo, don't be afraid, I will protect you. Go away, scumbag, I don't want your protection. Mo Yuyan pouted. You have wronged me. I am not a scumbag. I just want to give more displaced girls a home. Su Xing said seriously, think about it, many girls have no place to live. When the wind blows, there is no shelter from the wind. When it rains, there is no house to protect them from the rain. How pitiful it is. I am doing a good deed. Tch, lie. Mo Yuyan glanced at Su Xing and muttered, I don't believe your nonsense. Su Xing was about to explain again, but at this moment, he saw Su Yang and Ali walking over. Dad. Su Xing smiled and greeted Su Yang, but when he saw Ali, his expression suddenly froze, and there was a look of fear in his eyes. This little sister is so scary. Su Xing turned pale with fright and hid behind the slide, not daring to get close to Su Yang. Little bastard, what's wrong? Su Yang asked doubtfully. Master, your son is not simple, he should feel my essence. Ori secretly transmitted the message. Su Yang frowned slightly and said, I have carefully observed Su Xing. He has no special physique. How could he see your true identity? On the way here, Su Yang had asked Ali to put away the fox's tail, so he was very curious now, how could Su Xing tell that? Not sure. Ari shook his head and then said, but he must have noticed something. That's it? Well, but why are you so excited? Su Yang asked doubtfully. Dad, don't worry, I promise to be your best little helper. If you rob, I will hold your pockets and pack up all the good things,
Suzing's expression changed when he mentioned being a gangster. He was a thief. Excited. It's not bad, the little guy has a pretty sweet mouth. Immediately afterwards, he stopped thinking about it and strode towards Suzing. He smiled softly and said, "Son, what are you doing hiding here?" "I don't know, I've been away from home for several days." "Brat. Going to Wudane now." "Hee hee, Dad, you are a super gangster. You will definitely not be honest when you get to Wudane. You will definitely make a big fuss, and maybe you can even loot Wudane." Suzing said excitedly, "I have been idle for several days, and I can finally do something exciting." "What, you also wants to participate?" Su Yang couldn't help but ask, then she signed up. Seeing this, Su Yang said, "Son, come with me. I want to take you to Wudane." "I have thought about it. We will loot Wudane first, then rob Bodhi Mountain, and then go to the place of Zen and rob all the treasures of the major sects in the ancient martial arts world, haha." Suzing shook his head, and then said happily, "Dad, let's go, count the days, the 100 sects martial arts competition will start tomorrow, let's set off quickly." After Su Yang heard this, he stared at Suzing again, but still found nothing. Su Yang asked curiously, "How did you know?" Ari pretended to threaten Suzing. "Do you know about the 100 sects martial arts competition?" "You are so afraid of what I will do, but I won't eat you," Ali reassured. "State." "Of course I know." Wu-Tang." After hearing what his father said, the panic in Suzing's heart was gone. Ari smiled with satisfaction, and then corrected, "But, little guy, you shouldn't call me little sister. My name is Ari. From now on, you can call me Auntie Ari." Su Yang kept looking at Suzing and realized that his son was not lying. Maybe this was his talent. "Ah, Aunt Ali," Suzing said tremblingly. Suzing said, "Yu told me before that she said she wanted to secretly sign up to participate in the 100 sects martial arts competition, hoping to become the youngest contestant." "Dad, the little sister next to you, she's not a human," Suzing said with a trembling voice. "I'll know after just one look," Suzing said truthfully. Su Yang also said, "Son, don't be afraid, she is Dad's good friend." When Suzing saw this, he jumped up in fright and quickly explained, "Little sister, you are not a human being because you are a fairy, the most beautiful fairy in the world." At this moment, Ali came over and smiled softly, "What did you just say, who is not a human being?" Seeing this, Su Yang raised his hand and gave Suzing a blow. He said with a black face, "You little brat, I'm robbing your uncle. You'd better be more honest with me, otherwise don't blame me for being rude." "You." Suzing paused, then suddenly realized, "Dad, are you going to participate in the 100 sects martial arts competition?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 439. His. Suzing covered his head and said with a painful expression, "Dad, I was wrong, don't hit me." "Well, that's pretty much it." Su Yang nodded with satisfaction, and then said, "Go say goodbye to your good friend, it's time for us to hit the road." "What a good friend, little Momo is my wife." Suzing retorted, then walked to Moyuyan and reluctantly said goodbye to Moyuyan. The little guy talked a lot about love, which moved Moyuyan to tears. "Suzing, I'm waiting for you here. If you don't come back, I won't go anywhere," Moyuyan said while wiping her tears. "Well, little Momo, I will miss you every minute." After saying goodbye, Suzing returned to his room, carrying the baggage he regarded as a treasure. This burden was originally confiscated by Su Yang, but later because of Su Jingguo, Su Yang returned it to Suzing. "Dad, it's time to go." At this moment,
Su Jing said. Su Yang nodded, and then couldn't help but ask, son, what treasure is hidden in this bag? Why do you carry it with you wherever you go? Ah! Hearing the word baby, Su Jing suddenly panicked, but he hid it well and explained instead, where is the baby? It just contains my milk bottle, milk powder, and some biscuits, nothing else. Oh! Su Yang smiled playfully, obviously not believing it, but didn't ask any more questions. With Su Yang's ability, he scanned it with his consciousness and discovered that there was a heavy treasure in the baggage. That's why he confiscated Su Jing's baggage before and wanted to do some research. But before he could study it, Su Jingguo took the baggage back. In addition, the burden belongs to his son, and the valuable treasure inside also belongs to his son. As my son, it is better not to snatch this precious treasure from my son, lest my son bury himself without rescuing him when he becomes seriously ill in the future. Next, Su Yang took Su Jing and Ali and drove away from the Su family manor. It didn't take long for the group to arrive at Wang's house. Wang Baoquan and everyone in the Wang family were already waiting outside. Young Master Su. Seeing Su Yang, Wang Baoquan, the head of the Wang family, came over first and said excitedly, I have heard about all the things you have done. You are so amazing. You are simply a living legend. You are a god. Su Yang was used to the flattery of the Wang family. He smiled softly and said, Master Wang, I will take young Master Wang away for a few days. He has already told you. Said. Mentioning Wang Fuegui, Wang Baoquan's face was full of joy. Among my children, Wang Fuegui is the one who is useless. He only eats, drinks and has fun, and does not do his job properly. But I didn't expect that what he has achieved now is so amazing. Wang Baoquan smiled and said, yesterday he came home and told me that he had set foot in the Grandmaster. I didn't believe it at first and even beat him up. Who knew it was true? My rich family is only in their 20s, and they are already masters. They have a bright future. Wang Baoquan looked at Su Yang, his eyes full of awe and gratitude. I know that the reason why wealth has become what it is now is all thanks to young Master Su. All of us in the Wang family are grateful to you. Young Master Su, please accept the responsibility of the Wang family, pay homage. With that said, Wang Baoquan was about to kneel down and the other members of the Wang family were already kneeling on the ground. Master Wang. Su Yang stepped forward, stopped Wang Baoquan, and said with a smile, young Master Wang and I are good brothers. We kneel down when others kneel down. I can't bear your bow. Young Master Su, you are so polite. You seem to have given us the favor of rebuilding our Wang family. Wang Baoquan was very grateful, and then said, I can rest assured that Fuegui is with you. Wang Baoquan continued, if Fuegui does something wrong in the future, just teach him a lesson. Don't give him face. Hit him when he deserves it, and hit him hard. Wang Baoquan continued, that sword was inserted directly into the heart. I didn't dare to pull it out. I was afraid that she would bleed too much and die on the spot. Okay, Mr. Su is really a good and considerate person. Young Master Su, you don't know something. Before she died, she wanted to see her children. So, after the successful breakout, under Su Shui's arrangement, I took her back to Jiangbei on a fighter jet. Su Yang glanced at the time and smiled softly, there are still a few minutes left. I'll wait for him. It's rare that Mr. Wang is serious for once, so I won't disturb him. I see. So, he will never pick up a sword in this life because he can't get over the hurdle in his heart. To be honest, my wife died under the enemy's sword. Su Yang nodded, and then asked, where is Mr. Wang? Why don't you see him? Where did he go? Why? Why? Su Yang asked doubtfully. Unexpectedly, when Wang Baoquan heard this, he sighed and said, Fuegui will never pick up a sword in his life. Sure enough, those who are very happy are often very sad. In one breakout battle, in order to protect me, she blocked the enemy's fatal sword. Su Yang mentioned what happened yesterday and said, I made him a weapon last night. I wanted to get him a sword, but who knew he chose the Suana? I was so angry. Wang Baoquan smiled bitterly and said, I guess every time he sees the sword, he will think of his mother's appearance when she died. I don't know if it's because of grief or other reasons. Thinking of this, Su Yang suddenly felt guilty. Of course, he should not have forced young Master Wang to refine the spirit sword. After hearing this story, Su Yang suddenly understood. Su Yang nodded and decided not to ask whether Mr. Wang had used up his last chance to change the weapon form. When Wang Baoquan saw Su Yang's curiosity, he eloquently said, back then, my wife and I were both soldiers of the Chinese state, under the command of Commander Su, and each commanded tens of thousands of people. Wang Baoquan fell into memories and continued, at that time, Wang Fuegui was still young, probably only 7 or 8 years old. Wang Baoquan said, young Master Su, how about I go urge him? It's just that Su Yang really didn't expect that Wang Fuegui, who looked so happy, would actually have such sad things hidden in his heart. P.S. The character Wang Fuegui is colorful. One day, he will forget his fear, pick up the King Quan sword for Su Yang, and shout loudly, if you want to kill Su Yang, kill me Wang Quan Fuegui first. He saw with his own eyes that his mother had a sword stuck in her chest and her whole body was covered in blood. He cried miserably at that time. After sending his mother away, he never dared to look directly at the sword again. No. Young Master Su, when Fuegui comes out later, you must not mention these things in front of him, lest he will be sad, Wang Baoquan said in a low voice. Wang Baoquan continued, I once enlightened him, but to no avail. Haha, that's for sure, I beat him a lot. Fuegui is saying goodbye to his mother. Since last night, he has been kneeling in front of his mother's grave. He said he would kneel until 9 o'clock. It seems that Mr. Wang was not careless last night. He deliberately did not meditate on the spirit sword. In short, whenever he sees a long sword, he will show fear and subconsciously avoid it. I have discovered this a long time ago. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 440. After waiting for a few more minutes, Wang Fuegui finally walked out. Young Master Su. Wang Fuegui smiled and greeted Su Yang, but when he saw Ali, he shivered in fright. Recalling yesterday's lesson, Wang Fuegui couldn't help but laugh twice and said politely, hello, sister-in-law. Yes, Ali nodded. Hearing her sister-in-law, she became more and more satisfied with Wang Fuegui. Huh. Suddenly, Wang Fuegui saw Suzing next to him and strode over. He couldn't help pinching Suzing's face and said, young Master Su, whose child is this? His face is so elastic when pinched. My son, Suzing. Su Yang smiled. Fuck. Wang Fuegui said in surprise, young Master Su, your troops are so fast. I heard that you have a daughter. When will you get your son out? You kid, do you know how to speak properly? Su Yang said with a dark face. Ha. Wang Fuegui smiled, then looked at Suzing and said, Suzing, call me brother. I will protect you from now on. Cut. Suzing glanced at Wang Fuegui and said with disdain, it's not clear who will protect whom. You don't have any real energy. I can slap you and make you cry. No matter how big or small, it seems that it is necessary for you to see how powerful your big brother is. As he spoke, Wang Fuegui opened his palms, and a spiritual energy instantly condensed in his hands. This energy is similar to my dad's. Suzing's expression immediately changed. His eyes were originally full of contempt, but now he showed a flattering smile. Brother, what a big brother, I will rely on you to protect me from now on. Hee, it's a trivial matter. Just follow the big brother and don't ask about food and drink. Wang Fugui patted his chest and promised, but soon realized something was wrong. No, it's messed up, it's messed up. Brother, what's the matter? The seniority is messed up. Wang Fugui reacted and muttered, your father and I are good brothers. How can I be your eldest brother? I am inferior. You should call me Uncle Wang. What's the point, brother? Let's talk about our own things. Calling us uncle seems distant. Suzing rolled his eyes and said with a smile, but calling me brother is different. It shows that we are peers and have common topics, right, brother? That makes sense. Wang Fugui thought about it carefully, then nodded and said with a smile, haha, little brother, let's call you big brother. In the future, if big brother eats a mouthful of meat, your bones will be indispensable. Brother, I want to eat meat too. Okay, then we all eat meat. Oh, brother, what's wrong with your arm? It's always your left arm. Are you left-handed and only like to use your left hand, so you cut off your right hand and transplanted a left hand? The second brother is indeed very smart, and he immediately saw the reason. Yes, eldest brother, I am left-handed. Now I have two hands, both left-handed, and I can use them very well. Awesome, big brother is really different in what he does. He is indeed my good big brother. Wang Fugui and Suzing seemed to hit it off immediately, chatting enthusiastically, and everyone at the scene looked at each other. If it weren't for Su Yang's urging, I don't know how long they would have talked. At this point, everyone has gathered. Next. Su Yang, Ali, Suzing, and Wang Fugui left the Wang family. Wudane Mountain is less than 1,000 miles away from Jiangbei. If you drive there, you can get there at night by taking the highway. Ha ha ha. So. Therefore, Su Yang and others chose to drive there without buying tickets, with Wang Fugui driving. A few days ago, he met Su Yang in southern Xinjiang and asked about the method of cultivation in order to live forever. After escaping, Lin Yuan did not leave southern Xinjiang. Instead, he found a place where no one would disturb him and studied the techniques passed down to him by Su Yang in seclusion. At this time, Lin Yuan opened his eyes and said with great joy, this 100 poison banner has been with me for more than 100 years. Ever since I took over Lushan, I have controlled the 100 poison banner. Lin Yuan continued, a few days ago, I used the skills taught by Su Yang to practice a trace of spiritual energy. Unexpectedly, the seal of the Beidou banner was directly lifted. The terrifying and majestic spiritual energy directly enveloped me, and there was a steady stream of cum inside me. Fortunately, at the critical moment, Zhao appeared and forced Lin Yuan back. A boy who looked to be in his teens was sitting cross-legged, exuding an aura of terror. Because this technique is too low-end, even if you practice it to the end, you can only reach the peak of foundation building and be unable to condense golden elixir for the rest of your life. To this day, he succeeds. Now, I have taken half a step towards foundation building, and I am only one step away from the real foundation building. Su Yang planned to go to the Li family manor again to see concubine Li again. In the end, he did not resist the temptation of immortality and chose to waste all his energy, become an ordinary person, and then practice the skills. Lin Yuan spread his palms and released a ball of spiritual energy. He couldn't help but raise the corner of his mouth and said, is this the power of a cultivator? Ha ha ha, although my fighting power now is not as good as the peak state when I was practicing ancient martial arts, it is not weak either. Even if I encounter the middle stage of Shenzone, I will be sure to kill him. However, when we parted, we were inevitably reluctant to leave, so we simply didn't go. We just sent 2 messages to Li Feixuan on WeChat. In this way, the group of 4 set off, taking the Jianghai Expressway and heading straight to Wudane Mountain. At that time, Su Yang imagined that just like killing Duan Mulu,
Lin Yuan would first lose his terrifying qi and turn into a piece of trash at the qi training level, and then let him be slaughtered by him. Wang Fugui is now a cultivator at the 8th level of qi training. He can drive for 3 days and 3 nights without getting tired, let alone driving for several hours. Original. This is a flaw in the technique and has nothing to do with talent, even if Su Yang practices this technique. Lin Yuan was so proud that he said with a playful smile, "On that day, I will be in charge of the ancient martial arts world. The key is that I am still in the rising stage. I have a feeling that when I successfully build the foundation, I will definitely be able to defeat me at my peak." In this way, the place of Zen, between the mountains and the sea, there are also Wudane Mountain and Bodhi Mountain. All the old guys in this place are no match for me. The young man is none other than the old poisonous man Lin Yuan. At this moment, Su Yang passed on to Lin Yuan a low-level cultivation technique, which in the Xiantian immortal domain, even the disciples of small sects did not bother to practice. But I have owned it for so long without really understanding it. I just used it to release poisonous gas. But who knows, Lin Yuan, an old boy, knows that true energy and spiritual energy cannot coexist. The battlefield in southern Xinjiang is a deserted land. I didn't expect that the treasure deep in the clouds and mist, the 100 poison banner, actually contains terrifying spiritual energy. God help me. If you look carefully, you can find that the energy around this young man's body is not true energy, but spiritual energy. Su Yang's plan failed. He failed to deceive Lin Yuan and almost fell into Lin Yuan's hands. Therefore, Su Yang passed it to Lin Yuan without hesitation, and then he would help Lin Yuan embark on cultivation. I, Lin Yuan, want to be the second Suwuji, so powerful in the ancient martial arts world that all the people in the world will crawl at my feet.